Is EyeDetect the next generation of deception detecting technology? And could EyeDetect someday replace the polygraph? Stay tuned. Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to Mid-Valley Polygraph. I'm the owner, Dennis Cates. And today we're talking about EyeDetect and if EyeDetect may someday replace the polygraph and what kind of technology is it and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm going to give you as much information on it as I can. And I'm going to be referring to my notes here because I don't want to get anybody's name mixed up here. So if I'm glancing down at my paper, that's why. Scientists have known for quite a long time that when people think, when there's cognitive action in the brain, their eyes will change, the pupils will dilate, and a couple of scientists, one of them named Dr. John Kircher and Doug Hanker, about 15 years ago, they were together and they wondered if there was any type of a way that they could take this knowledge and develop technology that would allow people to use it in testing someone if they are telling the truth or telling a lie. The scientists knew that when someone lies, it causes cognitive action in the brain. In other words, they have to think about the lie. If you're going to tell the truth, and somebody asks you, what's your name? My name is Dennis. Do you own Mid-Valley Polygraph? Yes. Those are automatic responses because you don't have to think about it. But if you're going to lie, you have to think about the lie. What's your name? My name's Steve. Do you own Mid-Valley Polygraph? No. Well, where do you work? You have to think about the lie. When you tell a lie, it's a snowball running downhill. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you're not only thinking about the lie you just told, but you're thinking about the next lie that's going to be coming at you. And so when you have this type of activity going on in the brain, your eyes will change. The eyes are a window to the soul, and man, that is so true, okay? So anyway, these scientists got together along with a bunch of other research scientists, an Ann Cook and a Dan Woltz, and they got together and they're trying to find out, can we develop some type of technology that will aid people in finding out if someone's telling the truth? And I've seen pictures of these devices that they came up with originally to test this theory, because it was a theory and they wanted to find out if it was true. And so I've seen pictures of people, they're test subjects who were in hospital and they had these contraptions on their head with these cameras that came around and looked into their eyes and all this kind of stuff, and it looked like a medieval torture device. And of course it wouldn't have worked. I mean, the technology worked. They discovered the technology worked, but it wouldn't. I couldn't use something like that. I mean, you'd have to be in a hospital to apply it. Well, as technology improved, they were able to come up with the EyeDetect station, and I'm going to show you that in a minute what the EyeDetect station is. Okay, so let me show you what an EyeDetect station looks like, and I'm going to adjust the camera here to see if you can see everything that I have on this desk. Okay, this is it in front of me here. Okay, what it is that on this computer screen, questions are asked to the subject, and they're true or false questions. And some tests are 75 questions long, some of them are like 125 questions long. And so the person will be asked true or false questions. Let's say he's in for stealing money out of a safe. Typical question would be, I am not guilty of taking the money from the safe. Is that a true or false question? And the way that you answer this is on this mouse here. If it's a true question, or if you're going to answer true, you hit the green button. If you're going to answer false, you hit the red button. And those questions and answers are displayed on the screen here. And while you're taking the test, there is a black bar right down here underneath the monitor. And there are two red infrared cameras on the end of the bar. And these infrared cameras take readings 60 times a second on your eyes. And what they're doing, they're looking at your pupils, they're looking at the pupil's dilation and constriction, looking at fixation rates, blink rates, and all this kind of stuff. And then this data transferred to this black box here. I don't know if you can see it. Yes, black box. And this is connected to the internet. And then at the completion of the test, all this data is uplifted into the cloud, and it goes through a bunch of proprietary algorithms that Converus, who is the maker of this instrument and who employs the scientists who came up with this technology, it goes into the cloud, goes through the different algorithms, and then it's sent back down to me after it's graded. And then it's either graded as being deception or non-deception. The guy's either telling the truth or he's lying. While they're taking the test, they wear these headphones, so not only are they seeing the question, but they're also hearing the question in their ears. And then there's a keyboard here that is used to just type in information about the examinee, what their names are, this kind of stuff. So this is basically the EyeDetect station. Okay, so is this valid? Okay, let's just cut right to it. I mean, is this technology any good? They took all their information, all the results that they got, wrote it up, and gave it to these other scientists and said, okay, here's our data. You look at it and you tell us if you see the same things we do. And so they did. And the other scientists, the other review people wrote back and said, yeah, man, your data's good. It shows that it is what you say it is. And what they said is that this instrument is 85 to 86% reliable on detecting whether or not someone is being deceptive or telling the truth. 85 to 86%, okay? That's as good as a polygraph, all right? Polygraph may be a little bit better if you're going to single issue. When people ask me, what are the reliability ratings, I tell them EyeDetect's 85%, polygraph's 90. And anytime you get an average, you're going to have a little bit more, a little bit less, so that's how you get an average, obviously. But this is all peer reviewed, okay? It's not just me saying, hey, this thing works. No, these are, PhDers, research scientists who have come up with the data, sent it out to their colleagues who have nothing to gain. Just look at the research, look at the data, and tell us what you get. And they got the same thing. That it is 85 to 86% reliable in detecting deception in an individual. Now, how all this works, how it's scored is way beyond me, okay? Because I'm not a PhD, okay? I'm a polygraph examiner. I can do a polygraph, I can read those charts, I can come up with an opinion of whether or not someone's telling me the truth or not. But this is a completely different ballgame. I've had it explained to me, I've gone to classes by Converus, I know how to operate it and all that kind of stuff, but it's above my head as far as these algorithms go and how this information is treated. I do know it works. I know it works because I've taken the test myself, okay? I know if I'm telling the truth or not. I've taken the test and it works. You say it's 85, 86% accurate, I believe them, I believe the data, and you as private citizens, you can read this information. You can get the research papers and make your own judgment. Okay, don't take my word for it. Okay, that's fine. Don't take my word for it. Read it for yourself. Read it, make your own decision. Is this valid? Okay, and I think you will find that it is. Now, who's using this? Who's using EyeDetect? Well, I'm in California, and I can tell you that there's only 2 of these that are being used in California, other than government agencies. And I'll tell you why I got it in a second. EyeDetect is extremely popular over in Europe, South America, Canada. In the United States, we have the EPA laws, the Employee Polygraph Protection Act. And so EyeDetect, even though it's not a polygraph instrument, it applies to that law. So people, businesses cannot use this. But government agencies, of course, they can for pre-employment and for investigative purposes. So throughout the United States, police departments, fire departments, probation are starting to use this instrument. They're using it for pre-employment testing and for the police for investigative testing of suspects or witnesses or whatever. What is nice about this is that in order to take the test, you put your chin inside this little chin rest, and you just answer true or false to the questions. Okay, you're not being attached to the polygraph instrument. There's nothing going on your chest or your fingers and other kind of stuff. It's just reading your eyes, so it's not intrusive whatsoever. So that's a good point. Secondly, is that you don't really have to be that trained to operate it, because all I got to do is. Of course, I'm writing the test, but once the test is written, anyone can administer this test to someone. So I could, a police department or whatever, they could just hire a clerk to administer this test, because the clerk is not grading it. It's going up to Converus. They're the ones that are grading the data, and it's quick. It's only 40 minutes. There's no pre-interview, no post-interview. Polygraph takes about an hour and a half from the time someone walks in the door until they leave. This thing about 40 minutes. So there's advantages to that. It is gaining popularity. It is gaining popularity. But will it ever replace the polygraph? Okay. I'll get to that question in a minute. Let me talk about successive hurdle testing for a minute. Successive hurdle testing is when someone comes in and they take a EyeDetect test, and then they follow that up immediately with a polygraph test. They're taking 2 tests. And why is that important? Okay, EyeDetect, 85% reliable. That means there's a 15% chance of false positives, false negatives. Polygraph, let's say it's 90%, that's 10% chance, false positive, false negatives. I've had situations where, let's talk about infidelity. I do a lot of infidelity testing. People come in, about 60% of my business is infidelity testing. So someone comes in and they take a polygraph, and I've had this happen, and they fail the polygraph. And then they get very excited. They go, no, man, I didn't lie. I didn't lie. Okay, I told the truth to you, told the truth to my wife, whatever. And you can't say that that polygraph is 100%, can you? I go, no, I can't. There's false positives, false negatives. So it's possible that I told you the truth and it just says I'm lying, right? Well, yeah, that's true. There's false positives and false negatives in all types of scientific testing, whether a man getting a PSA test for prostate cancer or a woman having a mammogram for breast cancer. Just because he comes back positive doesn't mean that you have cancer. Excuse me. So there are false positives and false negatives. That's why you can take another test. Well, what they found, and when I say they, what the scientists found, is that if you have someone take a polygraph test and an EyeDetect test together over the same subject, if the person passes the EyeDetect and if they pass the polygraph, then it's 99% certain that they're telling the truth. Let's take the reverse of that. If they fail an EyeDetect and then they fail a polygraph, then it's 99% certain that they're lying, okay, statistically. And I've used that many times. Someone will come in, they fail a polygraph, they go, no, I'm telling the truth, man. Okay, all right, you tell the truth. You fail the polygraph, you tell the truth. Let's take the EyeDetect. Because if you fail that, man, you're lying. So if the person takes the successive hurdle test, and if they fail the polygraph, and then they fail the EyeDetect, it's 99% certain that they're lying. And since I've had the EyeDetect in my business, and since I always, if someone just takes a polygraph and they fail it, and then they say, well, I told the truth. It's not 100%. You can't tell. What I always offer them is to take EyeDetect. Take EyeDetect. Matter of fact, I'll even pay for it. Because if you fail that, it's 99% certain you're lying to me. If you take both these tests, you're not gonna. I mean, if you're telling the truth, you gotta. But if you're lying, that's not gonna work. Okay, so will it ever replace the polygraph? Will EyeDetect ever replace polygraph? In my opinion, no. Converus, the makers of EyeDetect, I'm sure that they would argue with me. Say, oh yeah, we can. What I like about it is that I can put these two technologies together, and when somebody comes into my office, I can provide them with the best source of knowledge and answer to a question that they have, whether or not someone is telling the truth or not. Okay, so that is EyeDetect. Bottom line, is it going to replace the polygraph? I don't think so. Okay, Converus, I'm sure, would argue with me. Converus, the makers of the EyeDetect, but it is a great instrument. I am so glad that they came up with it. I'm glad that they did the research. I'm glad they did the peer review testing. So if someone says, "Oh, that's a bunch of BS," no way. No. If you don't believe me, go read the research papers. Go read it. Find out for yourself. And I always encourage people, man, Google it. Google it. Find out for yourself. Make your own decisions. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for EyeDetect. I've got some other videos lined up later on about the polygraph and the different sensors that we use and how we score charts and all that. Okay. So, but for right now, that's it. So we at MVP, which wish you and your family the very best. Okay, Joe Bob. My skin's. Do you think I need more makeup? You think I need some more? Why don't you get a hold of that girl down in the hallway? You know, the one that sells the cosmetics, and see if she can do something. My complexion's pretty bad. See if she can. Putting lipstick on a pig. That's what you're saying I'm doing? Putting lipstick on a pig? You know, Joe Bob, you were just an old crotchety, old son of a